And hello again from Fox News in Washington. The Supreme Court issued its historic ruling on Obamacare this week, but that didn't end the intense debate. Joining us now from New York to discuss the ruling and how the law will be implemented is White House Chief of Staff Jack Lew. And Mr. Lew, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good to be with you, Chris. Good morning.
Now that the court has upheld Obamacare, does the president feel that the law is safe, or does he believe that it must clear another hurdle in the November election to take full effect?
You know, Chris, one thing that's great about our system is that when the Supreme Court rules, we have a final answer. The law is constitutional. It stands. We are going to proceed as we were proceeding to implement the law. I think the thing that the American people want is for the divisive debate on health care to stop. We already see that with the implementation to date of the health bill, that there are benefits that people are starting to see in their everyday life. When their kids graduate from college and before they get a job, they still have health insurance. People who are on Medicare who fell into that donut hole and had $600 of bills to pay on prescription drugs are covered. Families that have children with pre-existing conditions don't have to worry about whether they'll qualify or hit lifetime limits. I think that what we need to do is get on with the implementation now, and that's what we intend to do.
Well, you say the debate should stop. You know it's not going to stop. Republicans, including Governor Romney, are talking about repeal and replace. Are you saying that's wrong?
Look, I think that anyone who wants to repeal is going to have to explain to the people that I just described why they're going to lose the benefits that they're already getting, why their kids are going to lose coverage on their health insurance, why the donut hole will come back. And as far as the debate goes, I understand that there remains disagreement. The question is, you know, if you want certainty, if you want to tell the business community and individuals that we're going forward, you can calm things down and say, we're going to give it a chance. We're going to implement it. That's what we do in this country once we have a law pass the Congress, once we have the Supreme Court uphold it. Now, others might choose to have a debate. I actually think the American people want us to focus on the economy, on creating jobs, on moving forward. You know, we sent Congress plans which, if they were enacted, would have created 1 million more jobs for teachers, firemen, policemen, you know, in home refinancing and building our roads. It's time to move on to the agenda that the American people want us to be worrying about.
But Mr. Lew, the fact is that a lot of Republicans believe, and Governor Romney believes, that having all of this regulation, having all of these taxes, all of these mandates, in fact, is hurting jobs. That a lot of businessmen say, you know, I don't know if I can hire somebody because of the fact that it's going to cost me more money because of their health care.
Well, you know, if there's going to be a debate about taxes, we welcome that debate. Under this administration, we've cut taxes for middle-class families by $3,600. In this very bill, this health care bill, it cuts taxes for middle-class families another $4,000. The only thing in this bill that puts a burden on individuals to pay more is a penalty for those who can afford insurance and choose not to buy it. And to be clear, that's 1% of the population. In Massachusetts, where this was tested in the plan that Governor Romney put in place, 1% of the population ended up paying the penalty. The Congressional Budget Office looked at this, and when they looked at the federal law, they said that would be roughly the same amount, 1%. For the other 99%, what it means is security, that they and their family get coverage. It means that the benefits that they get will offer better coverage, and it means they don't have to worry that if somebody gets sick, they're going to lose their health insurance. But we should get on with implementation.
But if I may, Mr. Lew, during the 2008 campaign, the president made some promises. The Republican National Committee, since the ruling by the Chief Justice that the mandate is a tax, they have put out a video noting what the president said to voters when he was campaigning in 2008. Let's watch.
If you are a family making less than $250,000 a year, you will not see your taxes go up.
You will not see one dime's worth of tax increase.
Any form of tax increase.
Question: didn't the president break that promise?
Well, Chris, you know, if you go back and you look at the laws that have been enacted since the president's taken office, we have cut taxes for those families. We have reduced their taxes.
But according to the Supreme Court, this is going to raise taxes for those families.
That's not what the Supreme Court said. What the Supreme Court said was this was constitutional. They said it didn't matter what Congress called it. It is a penalty for the 1%.
No, wait a minute, sir.
It is a penalty for the 1% who choose not to buy insurance.
Mr. Lew, they call it a tax.
No, actually, technically what they said is the Congress has many powers. There's a Commerce Clause, there's taxing powers, and it was constitutional. That's what they said. They said it doesn't matter what you call it.
I can't let you go there. It specifically said that it is not constitutional under the Commerce Clause. They said it is constitutional under the tax. And as to the question about raising taxes for the middle class, if I may, sir, let's just look at the record. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that in 2016, 4 million Americans will pay the mandate penalty or tax. 75% of those people will make less than $120,000 a year. And the CBO says between 2012 and 2021, those folks will pay $27 billion in additional taxes. So,
Chris,
if I may just finish my question, and then I promise I'll let you talk. The middle class is taking quite a hit by what the Supreme Court said is a tax.
I think if you look at all of the laws enacted in the last 3.5 years, you would see that those families have a tax cut. That all the independent analysts, whether it's the Congressional Budget Office or others, would validate that there has been a tax cut for
I'm not
middle-class
arguing
families.
that. All I'm saying is that this is a tax increase on the middle class of $27 billion over the next 10 years.
No, what this is a law that says if you can afford insurance and you choose not to buy it, and you choose to have your health costs be a burden to others, you'll pay a penalty so that you'll pay your fair share. That's what this law says. For the 99% of the people who buy insurance or who get it through the tax cuts that are in this act, they're not going to be affected. You keep your insurance, you don't pay any kind of penalty. For the very few people who decide to be free riders and not have insurance but still have their costs go into the system so the rest of us pay it, there's a penalty. It is not a burden on the middle class.
Well, again, the nonpartisan CBO says 4 million Americans will be paying that tax by 2016. And let's look at why Chief Justice Roberts called it a tax. It will be collected and enforced by the Internal Revenue Service. What you pay is calculated as a percentage of your income. And here's what the President's lawyer, the Solicitor General Donald Verrilli, told the court in defending the mandate.
Not only is it fair to read this as an exercise of the tax power, but this court has got an obligation to construe it as an exercise of the tax power if it can be upheld on that basis.
Why? Mr. Liu, if it walks, looks, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Well, you know, Chris, it's been a long time since I've practiced law, but I know one of the things about our judicial system is that you can make arguments to the court on multiple grounds. That's what Don was doing. He was saying there are a lot of ways to look at this. It was set up and it was not called a tax. But there are powers that Congress has, and you can justify a law in multiple ways. The court took that route. It is a penalty. It was defined as a penalty in the law, and it's something that people choose whether or not to be subject to. Most Americans want health insurance. 99% of people will take advantage of the fact that they have affordable coverage that can protect their families. For the 1% that choose not to have insurance, they don't control whether they're going to be in an accident or be struck by illness. If they end up in a hospital and they have to have expensive treatment, those costs will be borne by other people who pay for insurance. This penalty says you cannot be a free rider. You cannot go without any payment. And the penalty is that payment. Very few people will choose it. In Massachusetts, 1% of people chose to pay the penalty instead of have insurance. People want health insurance.
I want to move on to something else, but I just have to ask one last time. I mean, there are lots of taxes, sir, that people either choose to pay or not, depending on their actions. A cigarette tax, I don't pay because I don't smoke. Maybe somebody else pays because they do smoke. So there are plenty of taxes that are discretionary in terms of what your behavior is. Would you agree that in Chief Justice Roberts' ruling, he said that this is constitutional only as a tax?
I would say that what the opinion said is that there are multiple powers that Congress has to make law, and this law is constitutional.
That's not what he said, sir.